Welcome back, everybody. Derrick Soo, your East Oakland advocate. Well, today I'm going to follow up on last week. I had made a video training my dog to be a family protection tool, and so today I'm going to elaborate on that and uh, talk about some of the things that I did with my dogs and not all dogs are cracked up to be a protection type dog. And I had one of my two, Mary. She was not uh, an aggressive breed dog. In fact, she was a very mellow dog, and she had to be taught how to be aggressive. And that's where Pandora really shined. But uh, what I did, I worked to each of the dog's strength. Just like Pandora, she had strengths and weaknesses, and Mary, she had strengths and weaknesses. My current dog, Mama, she's a 110-pound American Bulldog. Some of you may know that breed. That's the actual AKC UKC designation for this breed. She is not a purebred by any means uh, because her color is not consistent with the original breed. And the original breed was known technically as a white-faced Southern American Bulldog. And Mama, she is a 110-pound American Bulldog, which is the equivalent to a Rottweiler. That's what is normally compared, the comparison. The jaw strength is the same, 305 pounds of bite strength. She's 110 pounds, and she's actually a little bit light for what she could be, which was 120. And males can go 130, 140 pounds. So pretty similar to a Rottweiler, but the good part is that American Bulldogs could live 13 to 15 years, whereas a Rottweiler lives uh, 8 to 10 years at best. And so you get a lot more years with the animal. Health wise, they're very healthy, very durable. They originate from England back when our country was founded. A lot of the farming folks that came from England brought their farm dog, which ended up being they called a southern, a white-faced southern bulldog. That's what they were calling the dogs, and they were protection for the livestock, and cattle, and they were a farmhand in the early days. And so that's the history of the American Bulldog. But um, the difference with the American Bulldog is that they can be aggressive, but they can also be very sweet dogs. And that's one of the things that I also want to mention, that you can pick out a breed of dog, just like, let's say, a German Shepherd in this case, where you would expect that dog to be, number one, very smart, number two, a big dog, number three, really fast, and number four, um, mean. That's what people expect out of a German Shepherd, that they're mean dogs. Well, I've known German Shepherds that are very sweet dogs and wouldn't hurt anything. And so those, while they have that possibility, uh, for a lot of dogs, it has to be trained and taught into them so that they can be actually effective. Otherwise, uh, they react with their basic instinct. So if you have an aggressive breed dog that has very high predatory instincts, it could be you know they can get the job done, but get a job done right, not necessarily, because there's a way to train a dog for emergencies even, and so I have contingencies built into my training program with my animal. Number one, it starts out very young. We build trust, and number one, how you build trust, you have to spend time with the animal. If you're not willing to spend time with the animal, it is extremely difficult to build trust. And so if you look at canine units all around the world, that animal is with that person 24/7. Even if he has a family, that dog learns to adapt and uh, learns how to socialize with the family. And so every dog's going to be different. The learning curve is going to be different, and some are going to be better at it than others. Uh, but I also, one of the things that's really unique about my training is that I incorporate some uh, Jeet Kune Do philosophies and principles where uh, Jeet Kune Do isn't something that you can set in stone and teach and duplicate. Same thing with a dog. The dog, everyone is going to be unique and different and have different characteristics and personalities. And so you train and teach to the dog's strengths. And in the case of Pandora, she uh, I was already aware from the SPCA where I adopted her from. She was 8 months old. She had been returned twice, and I was going to be the last hope for her, because if I had returned her, she was going to be put down, because then that's three strikes against her. But I told him that she won't be coming back. She'll be well taken care of and well trained. And so Pandora had a history of being aggressive, but then also she was abused and neglected when she was a puppy, and probably she was abandoned because she was very small. American Staffordshire Terriers are usually very small dogs to begin with. They're anywhere from mid 40s to about 50 pounds. Pandora, my dog, she hovered and stayed at 52 pounds pretty consistently, and that she was worked pretty hard in most cases. And one of her favorite things was to break squeaky toys. And so one of our code words was "break the squeaker," and for her during our training period, her strength was her jaw strength, and then uh, she instinctively knew how to do the rip and tear, where once they grab hold of, and then they shake their heads to tear the flesh. And so um, we train to her strength, and her strength being, well, she's not a jumper. She's not a dog like a German Shepherd or a Belgian Malinois, which can jump and take a person by the shoulder, by an arm. Uh, Pandora couldn't do that. She's a runner, and she's after smaller game, and so what worked out very well for Pandora's height was the groin shot, and so we taught her to attack the groin area, and how we did that, we just take squeaker toys, and we bought a lot of the same squeaker toys so that the training was consistent. The squeaker toy was the same squeaker toy so that she would be uh, taught uh, to expect certain things and a certain look. And so that's why we went with squeaker toys and some of the protective gear that we had to train with. If you look up dog training protective gear, it's extremely expensive. You can go from about 300 all the way up to several $1,000s for protective suits for dog training. And believe me, you need them, because Pandora, my am staff that I had when we were training her, she'd literally rip and tear the canvas on these suits. She had a bite like you wouldn't believe, and she once bit through a 1.25 inch telephone book. I mean, it was incredible. I couldn't believe, uh, and when I compared it to her jaw, her muzzle, put it in her bite radius, I mean, it matched. Even all where her teeth took the and just sheared the paper. She was incredibly strong dog in terms of jaw strength, and incredibly smart because while I was homeless, that dog, that 52-pound dog, took down a 300-pound man on a 900-pound motorcycle. And then once the guy got up from underneath his bike, she squared off with him. She was not afraid of this big dude. And it took me to calm her down and keep her from launching an attack uh, on this person. And the reason why she didn't attack is because I had a safety word. And so that's one of the things. If you're going to train a protection and guard dog, you need to have safety words. And these safety words uh, need to that the dog needs to understand these and react to them and respond to them properly. And that takes time. These are not things that you train overnight, over a weekend, over a month. This takes a year, 2 years to embed this and get it right so that the dog does not hurt people. And that's the important part, because Pandora, she literally could take somebody's leg off or do so much flesh damage that it would be really bad for me. And so you need to have safety words. And there were a few times Pandora, in her early years, she was very friendly with the postal carrier. And then there was an incident with the postal carrier. And after that time, she saw postal carriers as the enemy. And she got out on a few of them, unfortunately. But fortunately, I was there when she got out, and I could yell the safety word. And the safety word was off, meaning that no bite. That's what the off meant. And it's something that is real simple, and you have to yell it in a way so that the dog understands it. And how I uh, understood my dog receiving that is by looking at their ear positions. When the ears come back and under my command, I know that she received the command and that she's going to obey. And every time she did. And that's the importance of having a safety word in the event that the dog gets out or the event changes. Once you've given an attack command, in this case, attack command for Pandora was break the squeaker. And she's going for a groin shot or somewhere in the area, and she's going to be drawing blood. And the only safe stop, it's kind of like sending a bullet down range, but then I can stop that bullet by just saying off. And she would not bite. She would probably hit you, if she couldn't stop. She'd throw her weight at you and hit you with her body weight, but she wouldn't bite you. But if you didn't give that command, yeah, somebody's going to be a gelding. And that's one of the things that Pandora understood. And the reason why you have different words, different things. In my home, I had two things for the dog to always understand, and it revolved around her collar, their collar. When the collar is on, when the collar is on, we are going outside, outdoors. And so uh, this collar signifies limits and boundaries to the dog, limits and boundaries. Because if the dog doesn't understand, or while during the training period, the dog has the collar on, and if they get aggressive, you can take corrective action. Also, you can control their distance and their speed and movement. So they have a lot of control, and so they understand this is boundaries. And then when we come home or when they're on the property, there's no collar on, meaning that they're unrestricted, and the dog learns that. And some of them will learn it quicker than others, but eventually they do get it. Some dogs, the learning curve is very long on some dogs, and then on others it is very short. But that's one of the things that I always taught all of my dogs from very early age all the way to the present. And it's you have to have two different sets of boundaries, because indoors you need to have control over them. Also, if you have guests or people that show up to the door, and if they're an aggressive dog, that's not a good thing, especially if you open the door. And that's why you have to have uh, command words, special command words that the dog understands. And this is part of the protection coding for yourself and for your family, so that the dog understands when to go or when to hold. And holding is real important, um, because you don't want the dog going after someone prematurely. And one of the things that I can say is that your dog will always let you know if something is wrong, if a person is not a good person. Pandora was was excellent on that. My show dog, which was a Keys Hound, many years ago, he was really good at character reading. Um, Smokey, my hunting dog, was really good at character reading. Uh, but also, one of the things that, like I just said earlier about breeds of dogs, Smokey was an exception. But then um, uh, the reason why he got aggressive on people of color was because um, if you follow the story earlier, when he was a puppy, when I just first got him, some kids broke into my parents' home. I kept him at my parents' home because my mother only worked half a day and she could watch him until I could get back with him. But anyway, these youngsters broke into my parents' home and darn near killed Smokey. And Smokey was just a puppy at the time. He wasn't even 6 months old. He was little, and they nearly killed him by throwing the sacks of concrete that my dad had in the garage at him. And even after he was down, they still slammed him with sacks of concrete, trying to kill him. Anyway, after that, we didn't think he was going to make it. The doctor didn't think he was going to make it. But when he did recover, he came back with a vengeance, and that dog was a raging storm, which was extremely unusual for a black Labrador. I mean, he would tear your head off. He went through two steel doors trying to get at people in the neighborhood, and and that's not uncommon. We had another neighbor when I was growing up, when I was between 10 and 13. A family had a Saint Bernard, and he was a really fun dog. His name was Dipper. I mean, yeah, I remember him as a cute, fluffy puppy, and then he grew into a 200-pound fence breaker. And I say the fence breaker because he literally went through a fence to get at this one kid who was tormenting him. This kid lived in the neighborhood and tormented, I mean, this sweet, gentle dog, and by slapping his nose and then laughing about it. You know, and then the dog had enough of it. And I told the kid several times, I said, that's not cool to be doing that with that dog. He's not hurting you or anything. And you're going to piss him off, and he's going to get really mad. He's going to come through that fence, and he's going to eat you. I told that kid that a few times, and these kids, they know better than me, and since I was the chink in the neighborhood and not one of them, it didn't matter what I said anyway. And then it did happen, and ended up, in order to save the child, the police officer had to shoot and kill Dipper. You know, because Dipper had the kid pretty much almost lifeless already. So everybody lost on that one. And this is Saint Bernards are very sweet dogs typically, but they're huge, and that's the thing. Reason why I do voice command on my animals, because some of them are so big that it doesn't matter how big you are; they are going to be more powerful than you, and that's why voice command is very important. And then that's why I don't have a leash on mine, is I don't have to worry about my dog yanking me and dragging me down the street. And so, you need the protective gear to train the dog. It's very expensive, but you can do some lower cost ones. Get it, men, get a cup. You definitely need that, and then also get two pairs of Carhartt or canvas style jeans, the real thick, hardy ones. And what you want, you have one pair that is somewhat big for you, but you can fit your cup. And then also you're going to want to put a cushion uh, in between uh, that first pair that you're wearing and then the next pair that you're going to put on, because that's where your protection is going to be, because dog's teeth can penetrate the material, and that little neck cushion that you see people have on airline or air flights, that's what you're going to be putting down there to protect your goodies. And believe me, you're going to need that. And if you're going to train a dog, an aggressive breed dog, you need that cup, because even Pandora, a little 52-pound American Staffordshire Terrier, can tear that canvas pretty readily, as will a Rottweiler or German Shepherd or um, Belgian Malinois. But if you're going to be training for arm grabs by the animal, be sure to get the proper training dog safety gear. And it's pretty readily available. There are dog training centers around the Bay Area. You can also find it on Amazon. And so there are places out there that you can get the equipment. But it starts with that squeaky toy again, because that's how I trained Pandora. That's how I'm working with Mama, and she's pretty good with that right now. Uh, and she's really good with off lead voice command. We've been working on that since day one, so she's coming up on her third year now with me. So she's really good with voice command, and she knows that when the lead comes out, that there's some real deep boundaries. And but when she's back home, she doesn't have this collar on, and she's free to be aggressive if need be, and she's very protected, because that's what she was for originally, protect livestock on the farm. Uh, but having a voice command is very freeing, and also it speaks volumes to the trust that you and the dog have built, and that's the important part, building that trust. And it can take a very short amount of time, or it can take a very long long amount of time, depending on how emotionally damaged the dog is, and how open and receptive the dog is to you. And you have to be patient with some of the animals, and you don't know what some of their backgrounds have been. But anyway, getting an aggressive breed dog is a very big step forward in the proper training, taking the time to build the trust and relationship with the dog. And also, the dog has to build that same trust and relationship with the rest of the family. And also, the family has to be part of that training, also. Not the targets, but part of the commands, learning the commands, and reading the dog. There's a lot to reading the dog, and it's about their number one, pay attention to their ear position. If they go on alert, you have to be uh, aware of what their triggers are, what's going to make them take off on you suddenly, and hopefully, if you've trained the dog well and the dog trusts you and uh, knows boundaries, and keeps those boundaries, you should never have a problem. In all the years that I've had dogs, I've never had problems with my dog bolting on me and being out of control. The only time they were out of control is when another animal attacked them. Uh, my dogs didn't attack other dogs. Uh, but other dogs did attack mine because Pandora was small, and it was bad. She was literally, I called her a four-legged piranha because of the damage that she did. She removed a lot of flesh in seconds, and I literally watched my dog remove a person's nose from their face so quick. I couldn't even say no, off. I couldn't say it fast enough, and the nose was already there, off of their face, and so that's why I say you need to have really good control of your animals. Your animals also know when you're stressed, and they may go on higher levels of alert, and become more unpredictable. But you should be 95% sure of all the situations that your dog, your animal is going to ever encounter. You should know how they're going to respond, because that other 5%, that's just the world. But 95% of the time, you should be able to predict how your dog is going to react and act. Um, so, teaching your dog good destruction with the squeaky toys, and also the attack areas that you want. Uh, we can, when you do that, uh, train with the Velcro on the outside and attach the squeaker toys to that zone, or to the arm protection sheets that you have for if you want them for arms, but also for your groin. They should be on Velcro to begin with, and then we're going to, as they learn that and go for that regularly, then we're going to move those squeaky toys from the Velcro outside on that canvas pants. We're going to put the squeaky toys inside with just the a part of the squeaky toy sticking out, and then that way the dog still understands. Okay, I may not be fully aware that I'm seeing the squeaky toy, but we are going after that, and we know it's in that zone, and so that's what we want. We want the memory muscle to store that, and attack that zone consistently, and uh, expect. The dog is expecting certain things. She's still going to get a squeaky. It may be the person and not the toy, but it'll be a squeaky, and so it'll be a sound that's not going to scare them. They expect that noise. So that's one of the reasons why I love using the squeaky toys, and I don't mind them tearing the toys up. So hopefully that helps you a little bit with training your dog. But the most important part, spend time with your animal. You can have limits and boundaries inside the home. My wife and I, we had limits and boundaries for our dogs. when we lived in the Grand Lake, they stayed only on the first level floor, which was the main floor, and they were our first line of defense for our home. Pandora was fully trained for protection and guarding duty. Mary, she was a search and rescue trained dog, but also she was a distraction dog. She learned how to work in tandem with Pandora so that they could hunt effectively. And that's what they did when we had the intruders in our home back in 2006. And we, I know 100% sure that Mary did not bite any of them, but Pandora did, and she left. There was a lot of blood left on the floor, so I was at first very concerned for my dog, but it wasn't my dog, so that was the good thing. But you need to have really good trust building with your animal, and also the animal with the family. So hopefully that helps you with deciding whether you want to train your guard dog, your protection dog yourself, or spend up to $40,000, $50,000 and a year and a half to 2 years training, having another person train the dog, and then in that last 6 months, you're going to be alongside, because the trainers has to have switch over the dog from listening to him to having you, the dog listening to you, the owner, and uh, building the trust and understanding for your family. Thanks for joining me today. We'll be right back.